So this is it, the 1968 Toyota Corona. This has been my labor of love for the last 7 years, as I had mentioned before at the beginning video. I have done some pretty insane road trips with this thing. Most recently, I ended up taking this thing down through from Edmonton down to Cranbrook, BC, and back over the summer during the hot snap, and that actually worked out pretty flawless. Thank goodness that I ended up finding out that the rocker shaft was snapped prior to the trip, and I did have a spare engine sitting in my garage to be able to take the parts from to fix it. But after doing a rocker shaft replacement and a valve set, this thing almost operated with next to no issues. We had a small dilemma with the points kind of disintegrating on the way back from Cranbrook, which had almost left me stranded in Leduc, but at least being in Leduc, if I was stranded, it wouldn't have been that much of a tow bill to be able to get it back to my house out in Ottawa. So there's that. The other things that I have done for this aesthetically is probably just put 3-inch lowering blocks in the rear, and then changed out the column shifter for Corona beer tap, because why not? It's a Toyota Corona, might as well have a little bit of fun with it. As well as the coolant overflow is actually a Corona bottle as well. So, you know, it's a little odds and ends that I kind of find is fun to do, just to kind of make it a little more my taste, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people that end up doing anything for modifying, especially for older, rarer to find cars, would understand. The other things that I've done to this is just lucked out once when I initially bought the car and found a decent set of ESM, essentially BBS knockoffs, but they actually do suit the car extremely well. At least I find it does. And yeah, other than the fact that people confuse this car for Datsun every time I take it to a car show or drive it around is pretty funny, especially when they end up finding out that it's not a Nissan and they've never seen a Toyota Corona, let alone the badges that I have on the car are actually all Toyopet badges that were brought over and installed. So that makes things a little more confusing for any generation, really. There's a few older lads that I'll end up meeting at places where they do understand what a Corona is, and that they've only seen it when they were children, and then there's never been another one that they've found prior to this. I have noticed now that there is one or two that have been popping up recently around the Edmonton area. There was one that I knew of prior to it getting torn down, which ended up being the engine and transmission that I had bought as a spare for this car. And I'm not sure on what ended up happening with that one. That was a 2-door. And then there was another 4-door that's just been recently posted in the Edmonton area, and it's definitely in a lot better shape. But I like to drive my cars, and I really do enjoy the patina. It definitely is more of my feel and taste, as much as it is to have a nice vehicle that's been restored and, you know, looks nice. It's just, I don't want to be constantly worried about whether or not it's going to get door dings or driving in the rain or anything like that. So for technical specs, she's it's a 1.9 liter carbureted 4-cylinder with a 2-speed automatic transmission, which surprisingly enough, it does highway speeds, doesn't overheat at all. It's not screaming, which is also nice. This car itself is a lot louder than it should be. It's repping a 2-inch pipe all the way back from the exhaust manifold. So it definitely has a bit of a growl for a small engine, which is kind of funny. So yeah. Other than that, absolutely love this thing. It's definitely one of those cars that I don't ever see myself selling. Unlike other projects. I mean, it's been a 3-year hunt for the right Mercedes that I wanted. So I did end up finding a 1965 Mercedes 200D. And it does run extremely smoky right now, so I'm probably going to have to go through the fuel system and clean stuff up. But it's also a 4-speed on the tree, which is actually really cool because I've always wanted to have a manual transmission on the column. So it's definitely been a different experience to be able to drive something like this. It's not any different than a floor shift. It's just cooler being able to just jump through the gears beside the steering wheel. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But yeah, this one's, as I stated before, I've always wanted to end up getting an old Mercedes boat just to be able to slam it kind of to almost the same level as the Corona. The Corona itself is static, as well as my 1970 Mark II. That's currently undercover outside, which that one's supposed to be I'm doing my absolute best to be able to get that one back on the road again, because I had actually pulled the engine out of that car at the same time that I got my 68 Corona, and I think that was almost, had to have been at least 7 or 8 years ago now. And it was one of those things where you're younger, you think you're able to have all the time in the world, especially when I didn't even have a garage at the time. I was just using my buddy's garage. And I was going to try and attempt to do a SR20 swap into it, but with the amount of cutting and fabrication that had to go into it, I wasn't really willing to slice the firewall back just to be able to have the engine sit in the proper location. So, and then once, of course, you buy something else and then you end up throwing that on the back burner. And then unfortunately it just kind of kept getting moved from place to place. But now that I'm actually having a proper ability to sit down, especially in my own garage, and have an hour, 2 hours to sit down and do what I need to do, I've actually started doing the engine teardown for that car. As you can see, crankshaft, head, block, which I have to unfortunately send the block out because it sat for so long that I have a pretty bad lip that formed in number 4 from the rust. So, and I did attempt to hone it out, but the hone was not able to get rid of all of the rust pitting and everything else. So that was super disappointing. But then I ended up finding out that I had an 8R head that was kind of just sitting around collecting dust from another parts engine from another car that I had stole the chrome and everything off of for the Mark II, so I could kind of make it a little more complete. Yeah, and I ended up finding out that that engine had the high compression head from an 8R, which was kind of cool. But the head also has to go out because I want to end up getting new valve seats put into it, since we don't run, or since we run unleaded fuel compared to what it used to run back in the day with leaded fuel. I don't really want to have to deal with either constantly running on high octane fuel to kind of keep the pinging away, because yeah, these engines are not happy, especially the older style engines like this. I mean, they'll run, you just don't want to be hearing that detonation, especially in the cylinders. It's not good. Not something you want to do. So yeah, I'll probably do a couple more episodes, just the base off of what I have for the fleet. I also have a 2014 Audi A7 that I have completed to Unitronic Stage 3. So, updated crankshaft, updated supercharger. Unfortunately, I ended up blowing the supercharger that was originally on the car, so I had to find a second-hand one to install the smaller supercharger pulley onto and redo the oil and everything else into. So far, ever since I've done that, it's been holding up. I haven't had much issues with that. And then the wife mobile, which is our camp rig for the summertime, because we do like to get out, camp, fish, all that fun stuff. We got a 2006 LR3 that I've kitted out for when we decide to take it out into the back bush. So yeah, as I said before, if you guys are enjoying anything you're seeing, by all means, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see, talk about, that type of stuff. I'll probably do a walk around on the Audi in the next one. I'm not too sure. Depends on how this goes. But yeah, until next time. See you guys later.